Each year, at this time, we reflect on our experiences and take a look back. We take a moment to pause and consider what we have been given and what we have lost over the year gone by. As Christians, we observe a festival called All Saints that helps us to give thanks for the legacy we have received in the faithfulness of those who have gone before. Today, we take a moment to give thanks for those who were connected to this family of faith or for whom we held funerals this past year. We celebrate and recognize those who have carried the light and left a light for us to follow.
Mark Scott was born and raised in Ontario. She happily attended Dunlop's United Church, now Dunlop Central. She began feeling a call to ministry as a camp staff member at the Lambton United Church Centre. She studied to be commissioned as a diaconal minister in the United Church of Canada. She was particularly proud of that designation. She served in diverse ministry positions, the most recent being Mackenzie United Church. Marg established deep roots in Portage-la-Prairie while she served at Mackenzie over her last 15 years of ministry before retirement. She continued to serve others in the larger community in her retirement years.
Thomas Tommy Horodeki lived his life in Winnipeg and later on moved to Portage-la-Prairie. He lived in a group home for 20 years in Portage. Tom loved classic cars, creation, and music. Tom enjoyed many years working at ARC Industries, where he cultivated many friendships and a talent for woodwork. In his retirement, he enjoyed feeding his birds, building model cars, and spending time in the community. Tom shared his life not only with his family, but also with his extended family.
Jack McKelvey was born in Cartwright, Manitoba, where he attended school and later took over the family farm after the sudden passing of his father in 1965. Later in his life, he moved on from farming to groundskeeping at the Boys Vane Golf Course. In his younger years, Jack loved playing hockey and never shied away from a good fight on the ice. He also played baseball. After retirement, Jack and his wife moved to Portage-la-Prairie and spent the majority of their years living at Oddfellows Towers apartment complex, where they met and made many great friends. He enjoyed his coffee group at Tim Hortons and made a lifelong friend with the late Ben Weeb. Jack and his wife spent endless hours enjoying Portage's Island Park, watching wildlife.
Marielle Scott is originally from Amherst, Nova Scotia. She moved to Portage-la-Prairie in 1961. She held a variety of jobs. She worked at Campbell Soup and Co-op as a cashier until she stopped. She loved working in her flower beds, canning, camping, traveling, painting, and decorating. She enjoyed doing various crafts such as liquid embroidery, ceramics, baking, and knitting. She made many baby outfits and afghans for family and friends, and the old sweater when she had the patience. She traveled to visit her family in Nova Scotia and stayed connected with family on phone. She loved being surrounded by grandchildren. Marielle's magic microwave of treats was something her grandchildren looked forward to.
Jack Edgar was a kind, calm, sweet, gentle soul and a very hard worker. He grew up on the Flea Island Road farm near High Bluff. He attended the one-room rural High Bluff school, then PCI, and then on to the U of M, where he obtained his diploma in agriculture. Jack worked at Campbell Soup for 10 years, then joined Larry Miles and Ed Bailey on their entrepreneurial ventures. Portage Tire, Custom Home and Leisure, Westward Village Inn, Club West, Roller Rink, and Westward Industries. Jack won the Canadian Championship in 1970 in skidoo racing. In his life, he was also involved in the Community Rotary Group.
Hemant Schroeder was born in Edmonton, Alberta. He started school in Saskatchewan, but spent most of his formative years in Rosendale, Manitoba, where his parents had purchased a farm. Other than growing grain, Hemant raised cows, pigs, chickens, and horses. Hemant also drove the school bus for many years. He also was a welder, a mechanic, and a carpenter. He had a good sense of humor, loved jokes, and was a consummate storyteller.
Marlene Coulthart was born in Rapid City and grew up in the Minnedosa area. She took great pride in knowing that her childhood home, where she was raised, was selected and used in the Heritage Museum in Minnedosa, where it stands today. In her earlier years, she taught at the McCreary High School and at Portage Collegiate Institute. Marlene was a valued volunteer with UCW Unit C and a faithful member of Trinity United Church. Family was very important to her, and she celebrated being a great grandmother as she spent time with her grandchildren.
Evelyn Reum was born in Roebling, Manitoba, and raised on a farm near Makarov. She obtained her teaching certificate in Winnipeg. She taught in many places, including Portage Collegiate Institute and later on at Crescent View School. Evelyn loved to be involved in the community. She was the face of the Terry Fox Wren for 20 years and volunteered for Meals on Wheels, Grandmother's Giving, and MCC. She was involved in caring, golf, tennis, and the Lioness Clubs, as well as a Unit C at Trinity United Church. She loved gardening, flower arranging and decorating, music, and knitted blankets. Her motto was, "Do unto others as they would do to you."
Well, Les Case was born, raised, and farmed in the Salem district his entire life. He received a 25-year award from the Manitoba sugar industry back in 1982. He loved animals and always had a horse. Some he raised and trained himself. He was a member of the Portage Horse Club and competed in many horse shows, including the Portage X. He proudly raised purebred Charolais, Angus, and Border Collies. An avid outdoor enthusiast, he loved hunting, fishing, snowmobile, and sports. He played Liniment League into his 70s, became an active member and instructor at the Portage Judo Club after he turned 40, receiving his black belt in 1990.
Issy Stasiuk was born in Bellecourt, Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. After finishing school, she went to Teachers College in Truro. Isabel was blessed with a son and embraced her role as a stay-at-home mom, and years later was blessed with a grandson, Andrew. Isabel loved cooking and baking for family and friends. She was famous for her date squares, pies, and cookies, which were always abundant. Her kitchen was her domain and hub of activity. Isabel enjoyed traveling around the Manitoba countryside and extended trips to Minneapolis, Nova Scotia, and Palm Springs. She met with new people effortlessly and everywhere, many of them becoming lifelong friends. Isabel loved her flower beds and garden and enjoyed spending summers in the backyard pool, entertaining friends and family. As a gracious and generous hostess, Isabel was also known for her attention to etiquette. Nephews and nieces would refer to visits to their aunt's home as a course in Issy's charm school.
Isabel Matthews was born in Aberdeen, Scotland, and later moved to Canada. Before moving to Canada, she worked for Freeland Fish Market. She was in charge of accounting, buying, and selling of fish to New York, London, and Berlin. When she moved to Canada, Isabel worked as a switchboard operator in McGregor in 1948. She spent 60 years on the family farm in Mage Creek in the rural municipality of North Norfolk. She saw crops and growing and seasons changing.
Sheldon Heath was born in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. He was raised in Lynn Lake, Manitoba. He was an avid storyteller with the stories of his time in the North and his travels around the world. Sheldon was slow and methodical and was counted on for a reasoned and thoughtful piece of advice. He was a trained counselor, held a number of public health positions, most recently as Executive Director of Community Health Service for the Regional Health Authority. He was a member of the Rotary Club and served on the Southport Board of Directors as Director and Chairperson. Further, he was involved in developing a future path of the Manitoba Development Center campus and also volunteered as a teacher with the newcomers in Portage and with international students. Sheldon served people both professionally and as a volunteer. We now take a moment to light one more candle for all the names not listed today, names of those known and loved who also left their own light in our lives.